With that in mind, what do you think boards should be asking and looking into right now around the board tables that you're sitting around?
I think there is a general knee-jerk reaction of boards to ask about sort of financial resilience, to ask about the resilience of their customers and their markets, and to respond to the sort of financial challenge of, is there going to be a fall off in demand, and so on. What is going to happen to pricing of our inputs? What will that do to our margins? I think this is, going to be the most tremendous challenge for people and for staff. And I think the most important question companies should be asking themselves that they would not have otherwise thought of, and hence a board in that role of second line challenge, critique, question asker. What are you doing about your people?
Mm-hmm.
Which of our people are going to struggle, and what can we do for them? I think a second order challenge is the constructive side of this response, which is, there is scope to examine how rich, deep, constructive, long held our supplier relationships are. We should be working with them through the crisis. If we have shallow, adversarial, price-based relationships, we should rethink where we've got ourselves to. Because I had a very lovely experience when I was early on in my consulting career. I was given the task of interviewing 5 of Marks and Spencer's, long-standing suppliers. I did this, in the last century, which I hope you'll cut from the interview. I did this in the last century, and one of the interviews was with a supplier who had been supplying Marks and Spencer's from their first market stall.
Wow.
From their first market stall. And another one had supplied them for 46 years with underwear. And another one was a provider of trousers. And the thing that was so rewarding about this interview was that although it was really tough and they found their relationships with Marks and Spencer's stressful, as Marks looked for a way of getting, the same quality for lower price or higher quality for the same price. And nonetheless, the sense of partnership between these suppliers and Marks and Spencer's was very striking. And the loyalty it engendered, the investment those suppliers would put into trying their best to find new ways of sewing on a zip with a smaller number of stitches, or finding a way of doing a seam that didn't involve filtering the thing over twice. You instead only had to do it once. It was a mutual examination of how can we make this work together. And I would expect a board to ask, how constructively are we working with the supplier community that really matters to us? And the counter side of that is, how richly, constructively, deeply are we working with our customers and clients on ways of reimagining what we do for them, or what it is they derive from us. And I think that's a good challenge to a lot of organizations, to think about whether their relationships are too transactional, too short term, and they lack that mutual investment in innovation together, in improvement together, and in progress together. And I think it's one of the great resiliences. I'm now wandering off into conjecture, but I think it is one of the great resiliences of German industry, is the relationship between the large corporates, the Mittelstand, and the smaller communities that surround them, is that feeling that they're in it together. I think that's a very good challenge to British industry and potentially businesses, further afield that don't share that sense of togetherness. And just linking your question about what should boards be asking to the first question about how is the cost of living challenge different, it's that sense that we're all in it together binds those two thoughts for me. This is a long-term structural challenge. We're in it together, so we should probably invest in solving the problems together.